My name's Willcox, I'm Event Technology Manager for British Gymnastics. I'm responsible for supplying all of the technology that's involved in the sports presentation of the event, so organising the LED screen, the lighting, sound, any special effects like pyro, confetti, CO2, as well as a scoring system that runs all the results system behind the event. The need for the scoring system came about when British Gymnastics had to host what was called the Gymnastics Grand Prix back in, I think it was about 2002. It's the responsibility of the organising committee to supply a scoring system. The system's evolved quite a lot. When I first started developing it, I started off with just one laptop on every piece of apparatus. So in artistic gymnastics you have 6 apparatus for men, 4 for women, so we would have had 10 laptops, 1 on every judge's station. Now we have an individual keypad for each of the judges on those apparatus, so there's 5 or 6 judges on every piece of apparatus, so you're looking at 60 keypads in total. We've added high definition video replay, we've added a voice over IP telephone system, we've added the 42-inch scoreboard displays which are out on the field of play, and all those have been brought in sort of incrementally over the last sort of 10 to 15 years as the system's been developed. We've also most recently added a mobile app, so you can actually get live scores directly through a mobile app, which is updated in real time. And we also, because we have the IP camera system, we can upload video clips instantly, so you can essentially have instant video replay all through the app. The video clips are only available to British Gymnastics members. That's considered one of the member benefits of joining British Gymnastics, but we do, for most events, we'll live stream as well through the app as well, and that is open to anybody. So we arrived in Arena Birmingham on Monday afternoon to start the build. The build started with the LED screen first of all, so we had to fly that up and out of the way so that we could build our sub-stage that the revolving stage will be built on top of. We also got all the lighting in on the trusses. All the trusses were actually left in place from a badminton event that was in the week before, so that was quite handy and saved us quite a lot of time. Then on the Tuesday we had the revolving stage company come in and they built the revolve. It's one of the biggest ones they do. It's actually a double revolve. It revolves in 2 sections. We have an inner section which is 9.1 metres in diameter, which separates our live 7-piece band from the other side, which is our gymnast entrance set and interview set, and we can change that various times throughout the show. The outer part is a separate ring which revolves independently, which is 13.5 metres in diameter, and we have a set of country flags which revolve in front of all of the gymnasts for the opening sequence, so they can step forward onto their respective country flag, and they'll all be lit by some Roby pointers which are on a truss directly above them. Also on the Tuesday we had all of the gymnastics apparatus and the raised podium come in. So there's almost 600 2x1 decks which are 800mm off the floor, so that all that gets built, put in place, and then Novum bring the gymnastics apparatus which then gets built on top of that gymnastics podium. So all of the gymnastics podium is actually owned by British Gymnastics. We have our gymnastics apparatus supplier, Novum, they store that for us and they'll bring that on site along with all of the gymnastics apparatus, but we coordinate all of the build of that ourselves within our own British Gymnastics team. All the gymnastics apparatus are anchored by steel blocks underneath, so it totals about 10 tonnes in weight. That's one of the advantages of having a raised podium deck, because we can hide all the weights underneath. Obviously with all the forces on the gymnastics apparatus, when certainly on the bars when they're swinging around, we need to make sure that they're really anchored well to the ground. We've worked with Novum for our AV production for coming up to a decade now, so they supply all the lighting, the sound. We've built up a really good relationship with the guys over the years, and we've sort of learnt to trust their expertise in this area. Obviously they're very experienced with other events as well, and they can bring that knowledge to our events and help us out. We work with them very closely right from the very start of the inception of the event really, so we'll come up with a general concept and they'll help us to define down the finer details of what sort of lighting fixtures, what PA system we need to suit the venue to make our sort of design and vision come to a reality on show day. We also bring in other suppliers as and when we need to, so we're working with Bigabox for the LED screen. We use Dynamite FX for confetti, CO2. We've got some sparkler effects on this job which are relatively new in the market and certainly new to us, so we like to change things as years go on and bring in different effects and change things up a little bit each time.
My name's Jacques, I'm the Managing Director of Novum Audio Visual. We are the preferred supplier for British Gymnastics for all of the sound and lighting for their major championships. Once we've sat down with the client and understood the creative brief, we take away everything that has been discussed and we begin to build a technical specification that will allow us to deliver on the creative brief that's been agreed. We then start modelling things in 3D, dropping everything into our visualisation suite so that we can then demonstrate the creative ideas through technology and how they're going to become a reality by the time we turn up on site. Once we turn up on site and we begin tipping trucks, we break our team down into various different roles. We're actually delivering various different parts of the project, so we provide all of the staging and the risers for all of the judges, all of the staging that the Revolve gets built on. There's over 200 and something decks just from our side on that, and we have people who specifically oversee that element of the build. In addition to that, we've got Rob, who looks after the audio. Rob does a great job overseeing the audio team that come in, hanging the PA, time aligning everything, getting everything up to speed and sounding great so that every seat in the house is covered accurately. They monitor it, they take a reference mic around and make sure that it's tuned throughout the entire venue so everyone is experiencing the same thing. And then Josh oversees the lighting, he acts as the lighting director, pre-programs everything before we turn up on site, and then once he's on site he makes sure that all of the details, everything matches the pre-planning, and we're delivering exactly what we've demonstrated to the client that we're going to be delivering. We've installed over 100 intelligent lighting fixtures, and that's utilising 13 universes of DMX. A lot of that is through pixel mapping effects, which eats away at the universes, but it's all controlled by a single lighting console, and we use ArtNet processors around the premises for distributing the signal to the various parts of the rig. The game has sort of moved on for gymnastics in the last few years, and they really sort of bring a bit of X factor to the sport and really started to increase production values. We really enjoy working with British Gymnastics. It does feel like it's a single team when we work with them, and when challenges do arise, we're all on the same page of actually focusing to make sure that the event happens and it's presented as professionally and exceptionally as possible, and it's a great understanding that we've developed over the 10 years that we've worked with them.
My name's Gareth Finchett, I work for British Gymnastics, so my official title is Digital Production Manager. What that means for this event is that I'm kind of creative producer really. So from British Gymnastics we have three main roles to do with the event, any kind of big event. My role is all about the content and what the event's going to show for the audience outside of the gymnastics. So I'm what happens. Ben is our event technology manager, so he's how it happens along with Novum and our other companies, and Dom is about delivering it on the day. So my role in a kind of producer sense is to collect everybody's ideas and kind of tie it together in a package that we think is going to be appealing for the crowd. My other role is for the broadcast, and so I sit between the gymnastics competition area and the broadcasters, make sure they've got exactly what they need, and I help them plan the camera positions, make sure they have everything on site. If we need to slow the competition down, I can ask them to do that. The events team that are here only kind of do 5 or 6 really big events a year to this standard, so we always know that at these 5 or 6 events it is going to be covered by cameras, and we're very respective of it looking right on camera as well as for the audience. In a sense it's harder to keep the gymnasts happy than it is to keep broadcast happy. Obviously we can't be shining pointers in their eyes or doing any kind of bright light effects during competition. Equally during the competition it's all about the gymnasts, but there's quite a bit of downtime in gymnastics, so that's the time where we can really try and make a spectacular show. With regards to broadcast, obviously they do like a lot of light. We're generally restricted in the venues that we go to in that we can't afford to bring in a full lighting rig, and so we're kind of left with what the venue can provide. So the general feedback we have is that they always want more light, and broadcasters tend to always ask for more light anyway. In this venue the light is lower than we'd want. It's concentrated in the centre of the field of play as well, so some of the shots that we find it hard to get in this kind of situation are the kind of reaction shots when the gymnasts come off floor. You want the kind of huggy coachy high-fivey type shots, which are more of a challenge to get in an arena like this, where the light spread is generally focused around the centre of the podium. In an ideal world, we'd like to be able to black out the full arena before the show to make it really spectacular and use all kind of Novum's lighting talents to make a spectacular show. Obviously, again, broadcasts want light, so it's that kind of dynamic between wanting to make a really spectacular show for the audience and wanting to make a spectacular show for people watching at home as well. For this particular event, we probably started 6 months out from the event. So although this event's in March 2018, we're probably planning it from November 2017. One of the first things that we do is look at the schedule and see what we can actually accomplish. And it was quite obvious from looking at the schedule for this event that we actually only had a window of 10 minutes at the top of the show where we could do all the kind of cool stuff we wanted. And that kind of dictated to some degree the kind of creative concepts that we were able to do. We were very keen that we made the most out of that 10 minutes, and whatever we decided to do for the show would have maximum bang for buck. One of the challenges for this event is we wanted to use a revolving stage, and one of the reasons behind that was that the competition floor is obviously filled with a lot of gymnastics equipment. We had these various ideas that we wanted to be able to fit into the show, and we thought that the idea of a revolving stage would be quite a kind of funky, fun thing that we haven't really seen too much before. So the idea is the band are kind of permanently fixed on one side. We can rotate it round, and perhaps we have a BBC breakfast set on the other side, or a gymnast introduction or medal podium. And it's just one single space that kind of keeps the arena tidy, that we can do all the kind of crowd presentation aspects on. It does make our lives quite complicated in the rig particularly, because the revolving stage is actually on a raised podium itself, and obviously the complexity of the twin revolve is quite tricky. We've got kind of dividing board between the two. So yeah, it has been quite challenging, and it's always slightly nervous when you push the button to make sure that it actually does what it's supposed to do.
My name is Cattermole. I'm here at the British Gymnastics World Cup. I work for a company called Bigabox Productions, and we have installed the LED video screen behind me. There's 180 panels of 3.9mm, forming an 18:10 ratio. It's slightly bigger than 1080p in size. The client wanted a screen that would be big enough to fill the space and have the impact that they require. They specifically wanted something so that when all the scores are up for all the gymnasts, that you can read not only the names but also the scores that they've all got, and get as much information in as you can. We have our own in-house techs, and we use local crew companies, and we have our own team of freelancers that we work with and built up very good rapport. Try to keep the same people all on the same jobs, so the clients are always familiar with the face that they're going to get. And yeah, it went in. I think it took us about 4 hours. We spoke with the Tim from Novum quite a lot on the phone and in meetings to better negotiate how to get our screen in, and then when to stop and start, because there was a revolve underneath it which needed to get built onto the stage, and then our screen's flown over it. So it was quite a complicated, small time frame, and quite a lot to achieve in a small amount of time. We have a Resolute Media server set up at front of house, which everyone funnels into. We've gone for that approach because it adds flexibility to the system, so they need to add any last minute PTs, etc. They can do it right before it goes on screen. It also has fail-safe, so if anything goes wrong anywhere else in the line, I can always throw up a holding cap. From there we go 100 metre 4K HDMI fibre to behind the stage, where we have one of Novastar's brand new 4K processors. So it's just one processor for an entire screen, and then from that we've got active lines running to the screen, and then double the active lives running to the back end to run active backups. So should anything happen to any one of those 16 lines, there is a hot backup running.
My name's Elsom. I'm an event manager at British Gymnastics. I look after a series of different events based around Gymnastics for All, where we provide non-competitive opportunities for children, adults and all to take part in gymnastics in a fun and friendly environment. For this particular event, the World Cup, I am the show caller. As part of the show caller role, I am effectively communicating with everybody technical to be able to achieve a smooth transition between different elements that we are hoping to present to the audience. To give you a rundown of the people that I'm in the ears of, if we go down control, I'm in the ears of the presenters and running the presenters, and that can be our commentators on the desk, or it can be presenters out on the stage, or in the arena and on camera. I'm then in the ears of our competition manager, making sure that we are keeping the show element in line with the competition element. Also communicating with broadcast, making sure that they are happy that we are in a good position to go on, say, the next gymnast to be announced. Further down control, we also have the sound and lighting desk operatives. I'm also in the ears of our scoring team, which will display the scores. I'm also in the ears of our in-house graphics team, which comprise of two people that are making visible what's on the screen and also managing the cameras. I'm also in the ears of the band that you can hear rehearsing just behind us, so we can give them a cue as to when to stop and start. In the ears of the stage manager and those backstage, and then I think finally I've got a radio that I can communicate with anyone floor managing, so I can get any of our staff to go and nab a VIP if we're going to interview them, or collect our performing gymnasts if we need them kind of on side of stage ready to go. So within a cue sheet for an evening we have approximately 130 or so cues. However, during competition, the way we switch between the screen and what we do with the cameras and what potentially we do with announcers, we will set it out within the cue sheets as an example, and then we'll just replicate it. So it'll be a case of actually there'll be a larger amount of things going on, but we just kind of continue to repeat the set patterns, as it were, that are laid out in the cue sheet. Otherwise we'd end up with 2,000 cues or so, and I'd go completely mad. The cue sheet I tend to pull together to make sure that everything works well and I have an understanding of it from start to finish, so that when it gets to show night I've written the cue sheet so I know what's happening, rather than being presented with a cue sheet a week before an event, for example, and then trying to learn someone else's vision and trying to realise it's someone else's vision. That's where we work very well as a team together, that we share that vision and share that understanding of what we would need to achieve, and collaboratively together we hopefully pull it off.
So after this event we've got another one of our British Championships events in a couple of weeks. So we have various British Championships in different disciplines of gymnastics all throughout the year. So we have a Team Gym British Championships in about 3 weeks. So we'll immediately after we finish this event we're straight on to the next one.